Well, I don't know what to say, except I absolutely must decline to dance in the streets for Gertrude Stein. And as for Alice B. chocolates, I'd sooner Shakespeare and a great big box of chocolates. That really belongs to Gertrude Stein. She was asked when she said when she was dying, what is the answer? But then she said, what is the question? You might find it a bit hard to understand me. It's not so much the Irish accents as the fact that I've lost my... I used to talk nicer when I had my teeth. Now I haven't got so many. And so, I mean, you needn't think it's your imperfect hearing. On the 18th day of November, just outside the town of Macroom, the tans and the big Crossley tenders, they hurtled along to their doom. But the boys of the column were waiting, with hand grenades primed on the spot, and the Irish Republican Army made of the whole bloody lot. Now, let us continue, as the man said. I'll have to sing this song in an Oxford accent. You haven't any idea of my Oxford accent? Well, you shortly will. I remember in September when the final stamps were drawn, and the shouts of crowds now silent, and the boys to tea have gone. Let us, O Lord above us, still remember simple things, when all are dead who love us, oh, the captains and the kings. When all are dead who love us, oh, the captains and the kings. We have many goods for export, Christian ethics and old port, but our greatest boast is that the Anglo-Saxon is a sport. When the darts game is finished, and the boys their game of rings, and the draughts and chess relinquished, oh, the captains and the kings. And the draughts and chess relinquished, oh, the captains and the kings. Far away in dear old Cyprus, or in Kenya's dusty land, where we bear the white man's burden in many a strange land. As we look across our shoulder in West Belfast, the school bell rings, and we sigh for dear old England and the captains and the kings. And we sigh for dear old England and the captains and the kings. In our dreams we see old Harrow, and we hear the crow's loud caw. At the flower show our big Marrow takes the prize from Evelyn Wall. Cups of tea or some dry sherry, vintage cars, these simple things. So let's drink up and be merry, oh, the captains and the kings. So let's drink up and be merry, oh, the captains and the kings. I stumbled in a nightmare all around Great Windsor Park, and what do you think I found there as I wandered in the dark? 'Twas an apple half bitten, and the sweetest of all things 5 baby teeth had written, oh, the captains and the kings. 5 baby teeth had written of the captains and the kings. By the moon that shines above us in the misty morning night, let us cease to run ourselves down and praise God that we are white. And better still our English tea and toast and muffin rings, old ladies with stern faces, and the captains and the kings. Old ladies with stern faces, and the captains and the kings. I wrote that song in 6 minutes with the assistance of, it was the first time actually that I wrote with drink on me, with the assistance of a bottle of whiskey and a manager actually who threatened me with a 45 revolver if I didn't finish it quick. Actually, I did the job in 6 minutes. Well, this other little song, I remember, in the slums where I was reared, I'm not particularly proud of it, I'm not ashamed of it, I don't feel anything about it, just like that's where I happen to be reared. The big girls were always very nice to little boys, and they used to bring us to what they call a party, which consisted of a cake called gur cake, which was a cake made by the bakeries from the rich cakes that had been returned stale. They mashed them up again and they sold them out. They were very good actually, and they were called gur cake for a peculiar reason. There's a lot of Gaelic lingers, or did linger at that time, not so much now since the government made it compulsory, but gur, a hen is said to be out on gur, I understand, if it lays out. And gur is a Gaelic expression. Well, gur cake was so called because a boy who had run away from home, a thing that didn't happen infrequently in North Dublin. As a matter of fact, sometimes they weren't noticed because of pretty large families. But was said to be out on gur, and his main sustenance was pieces of gur cake. He'd buy a piece for a penny. Anyway, these girls used to give parties, and us little ones were allowed in for free. They charged bigger ones a halfpenny. And they used to sing songs. And some of the songs they sang were very nice. And this song, well, I dressed it up a bit. I don't know whether I improved it or not. But this is it. I will give you a golden ball to hop with the children in the hall. If you'll marry, 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 marry. If you'll marry me, I will give you the keys of my chest and all the money that I possess. If you'll marry, 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 marry. If you'll marry me, I will give you a watch and chain to show the children in the lane. If you'll marry, 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 marry. If you'll marry me, I will give you kinds of gold and as much and more as your hands can hold. If you'll marry, 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 marry. If you'll marry me, I will bake you a big pork pie and hide you till the cops go by. If you'll marry, 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 marry. If you'll marry me. But first I think that we should see if we fit together. Yes, I agree. Let's see. Well, the last piece I stuck on myself, and in the play, the boy and girl, well, they jump on a bed together. What they see, I don't know. I can't tell you on a record anyway. But there's some other songs in this thing. They go on for hours. Well, this is a song that I got from a man who was, excuse me, Clive, blow me nose. You never had anyone blow their nose on a record before, I can tell you that. That's what they call the national guitar. I'll tell you this much, if you have any idea coming over to Ireland, stop where you are unless you've got very good nostrils. This song anyway I got from a man called, I hate these things where people say I got this song from some place in the States, but in actual fact I did happen to get these songs. I'm a little bit genuine to the extent that I just heard these songs sung. And I was in the places just naturally. I didn't go around here chasing up citizens to do these things. I just heard them in their natural habitat. How's me French accent? But I got this song from a man called Tom Osborne in the Wicklow Mountains. And anyway, this fella used to sing this song. And my uncle wrote very good songs about the troubled times. But this is a genuine ballad that was simply written by some fella that felt like it. If you don't want to hear the lot of it, it seems to go on to me for a few years. I've got to sing it. You might think it's tough having to listen to it, but you can switch it off and start at some more interesting point, which is my usual way with like that. Who fears to speak of Easter week, that week of famed renown, when the boys in green they went out to fight the forces of the crown, with mausers bold and hearts of gold, the red countess dressed in green, and high above the GPO the rebel flag was seen. Then came 10,000 khaki coats, our rebel boys to kill. Before they reached O'Connell Street, of fight they got their fill. They'd machine guns and artillery and cannon in galore, but it wasn't our fault that Erewhon got back to England's shore. For 6 long days we held them off at odds of 10-1, and through our lines they could not pass for all of their heavy guns, and deadly poison gas they used to try and crush Sinn Féin, and burnt our Irish capital like the Germans did Louvain. The Anglo-Saxons make great contributions to culture, don't they? They shot our leaders in a jail without a trial, they say. They murdered women and children who in their cellars lay. They dug their grave with gun and spade to hide them from our view, because they could neither kill nor catch the rebels so bold and true. But we will love old Ireland and shall while life remain, and we will say Godspeed the day the rebels will rise again. Though Irish slaves and English knaves may try you to deceive, remember those who died for you, and likewise James Connolly's grave. Connolly was a man that led the Irish Citizen Army, and he went larking. When I was a kid, Ireland being the only country where left-wing politics and the Catholic religion are inextricably mixed, it may confuse you, but don't worry, it confuses us a lot more. But in any event, I used to sell a missionary magazine called The Far East, which was sold for the purposes of converting the Chinese to Christianity. Personally, I think the Chinese are more Christian than the Chinese system of government is more Christian than the Irish. You can get free hospital treatment. Now, I don't want free hospital treatment. I got plenty of money for doing this sort of thing, for instance. But the Chinese, in my view, have they have a system of government whereby mothers are treated for free when they're having babies and things, which doesn't as yet happen in Holy Ireland. But I'm at the starting up with something, I forget what I was talking about. However, this is not a bad one. Not a bad little number at all. I don't know where I got the airs from because I can't write music. I am a happy English lad, I love my royalty. If they were short a penny on a packet of fags, now they'd only have to ask me. I love old England in the east, I love her in the west. From Jordan's streams to Derry's walls, I love old England best. I love my dear old Notting Hill, wherever I may roam, but I wish those bleeding nigger boys were kicked out and put back home. A fella asked me this morning, was giving me an injection, was an Indian, and he's a coloured man in the sense that we're all coloured something. If you could only see me, I had to be coloured a bright red, and that's not me politics. But this Indian fella said to me, did I believe in mixed marriages? And I said to him, well, all marriages are mixed. They're all between men and women, at least mine is. There's some more songs in this thing if I could find them. Well, oh yes, I was going to tell you, the GPO is the General Post Office, and it's a sacred place here because it was the headquarters of the Irish Republican Army in 1916 during the Easter Rising, of which rising Lenin declared, I hope the record is not smashed at the point of mentioning his name, but he said numerous sensible things. One of them he said was, I come, he said, to abolish the village idiot. But another thing he said the Easter Rising, there was nothing wrong with the Easter Rising in Dublin, except there wasn't enough of it. That it didn't happen in London, Berlin, Moscow, New York, and all at the same time. Them is my colours. But this aunt of mine went up where her husband was fighting, and she arrived outside the General Post Office, and the English, with that sportsmanlike sort of chivalry that they go in for, were shelling the GPO from Dublin Bay. And while the shells were landing, she went up and she said, I want to see my husband. Where is he? I said, go away, you'll be blown up, you'll be killed. She said, I want to see my husband anyway. So her husband duly arrived. She said, will you throw us out a few pounds and a few postage stamps, if nothing else? So I was like, I can buy food for my child. He says, go away, Maggie. He said, you'll be destroyed. Get out of it, quick. And there was dead Tommies lying all over the place, and a few of our own sort too. And at last she said, will you tell me one thing? Are you going to your work in the morning? He says, but the typical of all these larks, whether Sinn Féinism or Zionism or anything else of that sort, the big shots, they did all right out of it. They rode in with Lord Birkenhead, a Pigeon's Hospital spib. I don't know what the equivalent of a Pigeon's Hospital is in America, and I presume it's mostly to Americans I'm speaking. But it's a game where you throw up halfpennies, such like. However, we'll get on with some more culture. You needn't switch off yet. You're not going to be tormented. I love my dear Redeemer, my Creator too as well, and oh, that filthy devil should stay below in hell. I cry to Mr. Eisenhower, please grant me this great boon. Don't muck about, don't muck about, don't muck about with the moon. Don't muck about, don't muck about, don't muck about with the moon. I am a little Christian, my feet are white as snow, and every day my prayers I say, for Empire Lamb I go. I cry to Mr. Krushchev, please grant me this great boon. Don't muck about, don't muck about, don't muck about with the moon. Don't muck about, don't muck about, don't muck about with the moon. I cry unto Macmillan, that multiracial coon. Don't muck about, don't muck about, don't muck about with the moon. I cry unto De Gaulle, please grant me this great boon. Don't muck about with the Sahara, don't muck about with the Sahara. I couldn't get any rhyme for Sahara, neither could you. What do you think we are, geniuses or something? Well, this little song, I never hoped to get past the Lord Chamberlain in London, but however, I succeeded. When Socrates in ancient Greece sat in his Turkish bath, he scrubbed himself and rubbed himself and steamed both fore and aft. He sang the song the sirens sang with Swinburne and Shakespeare. We're here because we're queer, because we're queer, because we're here. The highest people in the land, therefore, are there against. It's all the same thing at the end, a piece of sentiment. From Swedes so tall to Arabs small, they answer with a leer. We're here because we're queer, because we're here, because we're queer, or here, or queer, or whatever it is. So that, my friend, is that. This is a little song that was written in 1937, and it concerns the first military operation in which I took part, which was the loading of cans of petrol, gasoline to you, on lorries to be taken to the border to burn customs huts on both sides of the border with a great impartiality. Well, the occasion was the coronation of George VI, the Lord of Mercy on him, and went as follows. Oh, it was on July the 28th in 1937 that a fire was lit without air a grate, and the flames leapt up to heaven. Our king and queen came sailing down the loch in the best of order, and we welcomed them to Belfast town with a bonfire on the border. Oh, the queen put a muffler around her neck, assisted by her women. Oh, the king walked up and down the deck, surrounded by his G-men. When he asked, what is that fire I see, the reply was, there in order. Sure, it's Ireland united in loyalty, with a bonfire on the border. Some said the flames was Ulster's own, and more that they were extraneous. A county down man swore that they lit alone, the combustion being spontaneous. A man who loves the king and queen and who stands for law and order, he said the flames was orange, white and green, and the bonfire on the border. But on the other hand, I was asked one time what did I think of race. Well, I said I liked the Grand National, and I was at the Derby once. But I must tell you a story. I was in hospital when I was a prisoner in England. I was sent to a hospital where there were British soldiers. And we got a supper. At least there were 23 in the ward. I was the 23rd. And 22 men, there were 22 suppers sent in. And the other people that were there said, why were there not 23? Why was there not a supper for me? So they said that it wasn't any anti-Irish prejudice, but the fact that these suppers were provided by the Red Cross were serving soldiers in the British forces. So they said, well, it's all right. If Paddy don't get a supper, we don't eat a supper. And I said, the only thing you can do is you can cut a piece off each of the 22 suppers to make up a 23rd supper. So I got my supper. So I don't know whether X equals O in these things, but that's the way I found them. This song was written by a brother of my mother's, and I understand featured in an American film called West of the Rio Grande. And however, here's the song. It was down by the Glenside I met an old woman, a plucking young nettles, and she ne'er saw me coming. I listened a while to the song that she was humming. Glory, oh, to the bold Fenian men. The Fenians, incidentally, were an Irish revolutionary organisation that was formed in New York, of all places. Good job McCarthy wasn't knocking round. On the 17th of March, St. Patrick's Day, 1858. It's 50 long years, and soldiers from both sides in the American Civil War came home to Ireland to fight in the Rising. And peculiarly enough, people who'd fought on the Union side, well, of course, predominated, but there were also a few on the Confederate side, and they seemed to get on pretty well. They wrote a song called God save Ireland, said the heroes. God save Ireland, say we all. Whether on the scaffold high or the battlefield we die, sure no matter when for Ireland do we fall. Which is the tune of, I think, a Union song called Tramp, 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 the Boys Are Marching. Personally, I probably favour the Union side, but I wasn't alive at the time, so neither were you, so it's not much odds one way or the other. But the Fenians were largely officered by men of the American armies. It goes against my grain to admit that some of them were from the south, but they were. And one of the greatest Fenians came from Richmond, Virginia. But I can't help that. But however, as I say in Dublin, carry on with the coffin for the corpse will walk. 'Tis 50 long years since I saw the moon beaming on brave manly forms and eyes with hope gleaming. I see them again through all my daydreaming. Glory, oh, to the bold Fenian men. Ishe rud the tarach and our Irigan Caslio. Octan bas bashin and tailor of the one vehicle on Coel. Akpaviakiliob and bos. August ere in a nation. Glory, oh, to the bold Fenian men. Well, I think that was done fairly well considering. But there's this other song, it's the Zoological Gardens. And I learned this in a variety of ways. But here it is anyway. Now, mot means, in Dublin argot, means either your girl, it could mean your mother, and it could mean your wife, but it means a woman. And I think it comes from the Latin mater, but I'm not sure. That's only to show me education off anyway, such as was. Oh, I brought me Muzz up to the zoo for to show her the lion and the kangaroo. But all she wanted to see was the blue cockatoo all inside the Zoological Gardens. She says to me darling Jack, I'd love a ride on the elephant's back. If you won't go with us, I'll give you such a crack all inside the Zoological Gardens. No trouble and strife, is no lark, for Dublin City is in the dark. All you want to do is get up to the Phoenix Park and to view the Zoological Gardens. I went up there on my honeymoon. She says, me dearie, you don't come soon. I'll have to get in with the dirty big hairy baboon all inside the Zoological Gardens. Trouble and strife is no lark, for Dublin City is in the dark. All you want to do is get up to the Phoenix Park and to view the Zoological Gardens. But Roosevelt, to say, well, I think he was a great man, as he didn't fancy us very much. We liked him more than he did us. But however, still, he was a great man. He did a great deal for an awful lot of people. And now I will put on my best musical accent. I would like to sing you his favourite song. Well, wait now, see if I can remember it first. Oh, give me the land where the bright yellow sun go gliding down to the sea, where the golden white swans go gliding along, like a maid in a heavenly dream. But I would not exchange my home on the range for all of your cities so gay. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. I wish I knew more of that. That's a good song. But this other song was written by a person who will never hear it recorded because he's not the possessor of a gramophone. He's pretty much of a tramp. A hungry feeling came on me stealing, and the mice they were squealing in my prison cell. And that old triangle, it went jingle jangle along the banks of the Royal Canal. To begin the morning, the screw is a water, incidentally. To begin the morning, the screw was bawling, get out of bed and clean up your cell. And that old triangle, it went jingle jangle along the banks of the Royal Canal. Oh, the screw was peeping, and Humpy Gussie lay sleeping, as he lay there weeping for his girl Sal. And that old triangle, it went jingle jangle along the banks of the Royal Canal. But in the female prison there are 70 women, and I wished it was with them that I did dwell. Then that old triangle could go jingle jangle along the banks of the Royal Canal. Well, the last time I heard that song sung was in a public house in the markets by a man who went by the name of Market Jack Diamond, to distinguish him from the real Jack Diamond, a bootlegger for whom he had worked in his youth. And he was by way of being a literary gentleman, in that he went into the offices of a avant-garde magazine in which I was concerned, and he used to take the stamps off the stamped addressed envelopes, which the editors, who were not very rich men, and the international reply coupons, used to take them to a bookmaker where they were accepted as bets. He would always inquire about the editor of this, or the associate editor of this journal, and he would say, where's Larry? Oh, I'd say, Larry is in London, and he's in the BBC. I see, Market Jack Diamond would say. What's he doing in the BBC? This was his literary accent. I'd say he's working for the third programme. Working for the third programme, is he? I had a drink again. The same fella, if he was off the drink, he could be working for the first programme. There was another song that I used to know in the Irish language, which is called a Chuileann. I understand it refers to the habit that the Irish had in the Middle Ages of cutting their hair short, which is called Chuileann cool meaning back, and fionn meaning fair. It's a girl singing of her lover. And it goes as follows. A walk to on Chuileann, e she shul horn upon two, e she mochri yal, moreils brana Maiden, mo Chuileann braya sig yal. Anye yal lay. Oh, walk she shul horn upon two, e she mochri yal, morel te brana Maiden, mo Chuileann Raya Sigyal Anye Yal on lay. That sounds a sad song, but in actual fact, all it says is have you seen my dear love with his fair hair cut in the Irish style, which was illegal, I believe, at the time? It's out of the 15th century. Have you seen him going over the mountains and over the plains? Have you seen my bright star of the morning at the early dawning of the day? Chesterton said, God bless the Gaels of Ireland, the men that God made mad, for all their wars were merry and all their songs were sad. This song is a favourite song of my father and mother. The word pogue means kiss. It's beyond McCredden's at Owendale's wedding, the lad's got a pair of his out for a reel. Says I, by his excuses, as they don't refuse us, I play lice and easy, said Laddie O'Neill. Then up we got lepping it, stepping it, tripping herself and meself on the back of a door, till Molly, God bless her, fell into the dresser and I tumbled over a child on the floor. Says herself to meself, you're as good as the best. Says herself to meself, she're better nor gold. Says herself to meself, you're as wild as the rest of them. Catchlina, but we're time enough old. As down the lane going, I felt my heart growing as young as it was 45 years ago. It was here in this morning I first kissed my Storeen, a sweet little colleen with skin like the snow. I looked at me woman, the song she was humming was old as the hills, so I gave her a poke. It was like our old courting, half serious, half sporting, when Molly was young and the hoops were in vogue. Says herself to meself, you're as good as the best. Says herself to meself, she's better nor gold. Says herself to meself, you're as wild as the rest of them. Says I, Catchlina, sure we're time enough old. And this other song was written by a man called Ballads. It's about a very interesting subject of drink, and it's called Prabs and All. So my Schleischen, if you say Dean, a Higgs in your PLC, a said Jan of Store. It's only as a Sweeney, a said Kirk on Trail, shows come egg, she chinta, for you like to fall. Mas chinnery ho, joke nori ho, necher for opinion, lat take dolphin fod. My sinister glory, scarlet car, jebe, monotamy, jackal, Prabs and all. God bless the captain of the ship that's sailing along the voyage home. Make strong the rigging where the wind is wailing, and guide his bows through the foam. Albacata brandy, red wine or shandy, oh may his cargo never sink. Come roar the chorus, there's life before us, while we still put our true trust and drink. Mar Nielsen sailed shore, Och Sean Grie, Rud a cheatar no slum the chio. My shinnest avri shin il bert nis crian na vemmer chami jechol prabs and all. This is a song which is of a very pious frame of mind that you will hear when you hear it. And it refers to the legend of Saint Kevin, whom it was said that he lived a hermit in a place called Glendalough, the land of the two lakes in County Wicklow. And he had a very persistent female admirer who came out to see him. But this is the song. Oh, in Glendalough lived an old saint who passed all his days in austerity. His manners were curious and quaint, and he looked upon girls with asperity, singing fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy. He was fond of reading a book when he could get one to his wishes. He was fond of casting his hook in among the young fishes, singing fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy. One evening he landed a trout. He landed a fine fat trout, sir, and Kathleen from over the way came to see what the old monk was about, sir, singing fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy. Get out of my way, says the saint, for I am a man of great piety. Me good manners I wouldn't taint by mixing with female society, singing fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy. Well, Kitty, she wouldn't give in, and when he came home to his rockery, he found she was seated within, polishing up his old crockery, singing fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yay, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy. Finished up that he could stick it no longer, he threw it into the lake. Well, he gave the poor creature a shake, and I wish that a copper had caught him, for he flung her right into the lake, and be Jesus, he sank to the bottom, singing fall-da-da-lal-da-da-ya, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-ya, right fall-da-da-lal-da-da-yaddy. That's the lot. There you have it.